Hang on, I guess working. Here we go. Hang on, wait. There
Here
is.
we go.
Hey, there we go.
Hey.
We're on. G'day.
Zero
Bit clumsy
mistakes,
doing this
mate.
through the laptop and being at work and not used to me original gear.
Look, zero mistakes, mate. There's only, 500 podcasts between us or something. I'm sure we don't really know what we're doing, even at this.
We have absolutely no idea what we're doing. We're just winging it every time.
How are you, mate?
Going good, mate. Going good. How about yourself?
Oh, good, man. Good. Hey, thank you for joining me again, and good evening to everybody out there. This is a big one, man. This is a big one. This has been something that's been in the works for quite a while now. So we're here to discuss the release of Sacred Site, the documentary Sacred Site. And what I wanted to tell the listeners, and I was trying to get into Facebook, man. Can you get into the chat? Can you access the league chat and copy and paste that link? Because every time I try and do that, my internet spazzes.
There we go.
Because what we decided to do, Loomis and I decided that we have released the theatrical version of the documentary onto YouTube, And we wanted to do that especially for the Australian listeners and all the listeners of Encounters Down Under and Unlocking the Code, and obviously Chant It Down as well. And yeah, we wanted to do that. So if you can post that link in the chat, that'd be awesome. Follow that link, guys. Obviously, listen to us first and watch the documentary later. But
Absolutely.
yeah, this is a big one, man. This is something that, along with the Sanctum that I've been working on for the last 12 months, this is something else that's been going on behind the scenes. So, did you get a chance to watch it yet, mate, or did you?
I've watched the first one there. I think I got halfway through the second one there. It's been bloody absolutely busy, and doing stuff. And
It's all good, mate. It's all good. Well, what without giving the documentary away too much, are you enjoying it? Did you like it, or got any questions?
I actually really am enjoying it. It's actually quite a good and informative sort of doco. It's it dives into a lot of different things. Like a lucky guy being able to go and travel around the world and looking at all this stuff. I'm really actually quite jealous.
Oh, look, Loomis does it on the cheap. He's thankful. He's got some relatives in interesting places around the world, so he goes and sees a relative and crashes on a couch. And yeah, because he was when he went to the Pyramid of the Sun, where's that? Anyway, in Croatia, the big one there. Yeah, he's got family over there, and
Oh, that's awesome.
And basically what he says is like, once you get into Europe, it's a hop, skip, and a jump around. It's not that bad, but it's just getting there is the issue. And his wife is Australian, and so that's the reason he came down here.
Even better.
Yeah, so that's how come we ended up at the imprint and all that sort of stuff. It's for those that are wondering what the documentary or the core of the documentary is about, it's basically it's sacred site, and site is in seeing, and it's having a look at. It's not your usual megalithic sites.
Whoa, what is that?
Whoa, what is that?
I don't know.
Was that me or was that you?
I tried to copy the link, it didn't work.
The aliens are trying to communicate with us.
Doing something. I don't know. Bloody technology. I just want to click the link. There we go. Here, I think
there you go. Yeah. The chat is full of it all. What the hell's going on?
That is a weird one. Okay, this. Aha. There we go.
Oh, that's the Vimeo link.
Yeah, and you want the YouTube one too, do you?
Yeah, the YouTube one as well. Yeah.
So basically, to go on with the Vimeo one, there you're getting the director's cut version, which you're getting a little more access into the more detailed
director's cut one. But so with the Vimeo one, it will cost you $5, I think, $6 to watch the director's cut. But with the theatrical version, here we go. Hang on a second.
You got it?
Oh, hang on. No, hang on. Zero mistakes, guys. Zero mistakes.
Yeah, income. You just go and blabber on, and I'll go and find it for you.
No, that's all right. I got it, man. I got it.
You got it? Yeah. You saw it?
Yeah, I got it. Yep. Copy link address. I got it. Yeah. My Wi-Fi has stabilized. Here we go. So if I go post a comment, here we go. Do that.
And g'day, Jane. Long time no see. It's been good to be back and good to see you back in the chat here with us.
That doesn't look right, does it? That's not the.
You've done the same thing as what I did. So you don't right click and do the link
address. Right.
That just doesn't work.
Obviously. I'm so glad that we know it. I'm so glad that we know what we're doing.
Technology is a wonderful thing.
Hang on a second. Yeah. So ask me a question, mate, while I'm doing this.
Well, first off, I'd like to say congratulations, man, on being featured in a documentary, mate. That's actually really fantastic.
Oh, mate, look, there's things where you look, we do this thing called podcasting, and we have dreams and we have ideas that we're going to achieve. And I didn't think for a second that, one of my goals was not only to be on a documentary or do a documentary, but also at the same time have some original content and original things to share on that documentary,
Yeah.
and to have both of those things happen, and to be featured throughout the documentary. And look, the list of people that are on that show is pretty humbling as well. Like there's so many, Wandering Wolf, Mike Collins is in there. He's been on the JRE,
Yeah.
man. You know what I mean? Like this is the reality. I tell you what we might do. I'm just gonna create a post. I'll post it on Facebook. Yeah. Because it looks like every time I go to copy that link, it is all that. Let's see. Let's try this and
Yeah, I've
see if
already
that
shared it.
works.
Like I shared the smaller version of it. So hopefully the
Oh, you
links
did that.
work in the actual. Yeah, I've got
Oh,
that
you
done.
did that. There it is. There it is. There you did that. So yeah, no, that's cool. So that's the one I was doing. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, man. Look, yeah, Mike Collins has been on the JRE. Like there's so many names that are in that show. To have my name associated with them and be with them in the credits it's humbling and very cool. And basically, uh, oh, Clinton's here. Hello,
Hey,
bro.
Woody.
Yeah, so yeah, to have my name associated with those guys was very humbling, and I'm very thankful to Loomis for including me in the documentary. And it's basically what we're looking at, or what he's looking at, and using some of the shows that we've done and the work that we've done, is the sight to see the mysteries that we don't see. Like it's and talking about, is there a cover up of this advanced ancient civilization? Um, oh, thanks, Fraser. Yeah, we had it seems to have stabilized now, mate. Yeah, thank you.
Could be my end because I think it's running through my phone. I got a hotspot through my phone to get some internet service, so it could be me.
Yeah. Oh, look, it seems to be. Well, see, it's zero mistakes here, mate. Zero mistakes. Um, but yeah, so
Budget. Working on a
basically,
budget.
yeah, that's right, man. These are all passion projects. We may be talking about me being on a documentary, but I didn't get paid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right.
um, and it is a passion project. I think this is, and then we need to really give kudos to Loomis as well. He wrote it, he directed it, he produced it, he did everything you see in that documentary. He cut it, he shut it, he diced it, he sliced it, he added the music, he even created some of that music. That was him.
That's awesome.
Who did all that. So we really got to give kudos to him and the time it took him to put together. And it's basically, I think the swap casts between me and Loomis now, I think we're up to 8 or 9 in the last few years.
Wow.
And we basically choose a topic and focus in on certain topics. We've done the moon. The moon one was pretty good. We did the Ark of the Covenant. We've done Eridu, which is the very first city, documented city, mind you, that's never been explored or hasn't been explored since the 40s. It's supposedly the first the first city that ever existed, and no one cares about it. That sort of begs the
Yeah.
question. Mr. Mango, how are you, sir? Yeah, thanks, man. I really
Good Dan.
appreciate that. I'll definitely let Loomis know that you said that, because it as I say, it's awesome, man. If you think, and that's the first time he's ever done anything like that, you really got to tip your hat to the work that he did. What else have we done? We did the Ark of the Covenant, we did Eridu, we did the Moon, we did Megalithic Mysteries and the South Pacific as well. Yeah, basically we find a topic and we give each other a few weeks to dig into it, and then we sit down and we discuss it. And it's through that work that I shared with him the imprint. I shared with him, the stuff about Gosford glyphs and Gympie and all that sort of stuff, and that's how we ended up in the documentary. And it's very cool. It's very cool to be a part of.
Yeah, it's just actually great that you actually got out in the field as well. You're actually showing stuff, and he's hiked around bloody everywhere. Geez, that guy's on a mission.
Oh, some of the
And he's
stuff
just
he
gone
done.
up like a
Yeah.
little lead.
Oh, mate, some of the stuff he did in Hawaii is very interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, he wants me to get over to Hawaii as soon as I can to go on the next next stage. The interesting thing about, having Sacred Site Part 1, and for those that are just joining us, the link to the documentary is above. We decided to release the theatrical version of the documentary onto YouTube. Please give it a watch. Please like it, share it, move it around, guys. We really want to get this thing moving to take off, because part 2 is practically already written. And we'd love to do part 2, and we'd love that this documentary to get in front of as many people as we can. So please follow that link and give it a watch, share it to your pages, share it around. That'd be really cool, because it's good. It's really good, and I think it deserves more eyes on it. And the more eyes that get on it, the more chance we can sit down. We can do. We're going to do part 2. However, it'd be cool to expand as much as we can with part 2. And yeah, look, the Hawaii, and it's quite funny that Hawaii is very similar to Australia in a lot of ways, with our smaller islands, but an island nation, with supposedly no recorded megalithic stuff apart from the Huais and I think it's the Hu. I'm probably saying that wrong. Sorry, Loomis. But they got the big stacks of stones there, which we don't have down here. However, there's not a known megalithic culture like there is here down under, but there's these echoes that we seem to find everywhere. And the larger picture across the world is there a cover up to, are they not allowing us to see? And I think, if we think about the conversations we've had here, and a lot of the people in the chat and listening would understand as well, there does seem to be, man, you know what I mean? It does seem that there is something that, for whatever reason, well, I think I say in the documentary, there's answers in the past that can affect our present, that can help us in the future. And if you control the past, you control the present, you control the future. And but we need to see past all that and just be, open to new ideas and new perspectives.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating at the same time, like realizing that there is a controlling hand throughout the whole world, stopping us from learning where we all come from originally. And it's just sort of like, why are they ruling such a narrative? Like, what are they trying to hide? And I know it goes through the documentary, like the question still gets raised, like, why are they trying to go and control the narrative?
Yeah, it's a curious one, man.
Frustrating.
I think, and obviously, we've got a couple of little Aussie indie podcasts that we do between us, and same with Loomis. He's an indie podcast out of Hawaii, and between us, we've got listeners all over the planet, right? So it's like, if Unlocking the Code Encounters Down Under and Chant It Down have listeners that are represented in every country, every culture, every every version of human, what does that tell you? That tells you that we are, by and large, of a like mind. And, as we've spoken about before, fear and control and divide and conquer is definitely, well, we saw it at play the last few years.
It's still
that's one of
happening
the
now.
It's still happening right now. We can see the division. And if it was proven that there was a global civilization that existed we don't really know. I mean, and the key here is too, guys, is that we don't know. Unlocking the Code disclaimer: don't listen to me. I don't know anything. Okay, it's just an interpretation, right? However, there seems to be a civilization that echoes across the planet that had similar belief systems, similar astronomy, similar, with cultural variation, but same but different all over the world. And what that means, Anthony, is that color, creed, culture, religion don't matter, because we can all get along, or we all did get along at some point.
As far as we're aware.
As far as we're aware. Again, it's an interpretation, and that's an understanding. However, if that's true, then then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? None of the bullshit that we've been brought up to believe matters actually does. And I think that's what they're trying trying to not allow us to see, for want of a better understanding.
Yeah, and it's good that, like, there's a lot more people becoming a bit more aware of what's happening around the world now. Like, governments are becoming more controlling and such, and documentaries such as what you're featuring in Sacred Site, they're touching a lot on that. People are becoming more aware of what's happening, and the more aware we are of, like, what's these ancient buildings and structures and like how they've done it and stuff like that and what they're trying to hide, people are going to start be asking more questions. So obviously, yeah, the more people who can watch this documentary, the more aware, more people become aware, sort of thing.
Absolutely, and I think, and they're valid questions. Like, these are valid questions. The reason that me and Loomis get along so well is that neither of us profess to actually know anything. It's an
Yeah,
interpretation of data, and it's an interpretation of data through critical thinking and understanding that we've drawn our conclusions. However, we're not saying we have the answer. It's not, we're not trying to start a cult, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like our way or the highway. No, it's not. We're always learning, always reading, always researching. And, we're happy to have our ideas changed, or our beliefs changed, or our interpretations changed with more evidence. And that's how you should be. Like,
yeah,
you've got to be able to look at things objectively, without bias. So when you're
mm,
presented with something else, you can change your mind. But to pretend there isn't a narrative that has been pushed on all of us for a very long time, and the very baseline is our education system. At the very baseline, post World War II education system was designed to create factory workers. That's not a question.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That's it is what it is, right? History is written by the victor. I mean, we bring it here to down under. Everything that, a lot of the things that we've been told about our Indigenous brothers and sisters and the tragedy that happened to them, and how advanced they were, and actually what they could truly do when the British arrived, what we've been told is a lie. They were more advanced than we understood. They they understood an ancient kind of, they were part of this megalithic culture. We talk about Australia's Stonehenge. We talk about the standing stones in
yeah,
Mullumbimby. There's so many. Yes, yeah, Jane, I do know Stephen and Evan. I've had Stephen on the show quite a few years ago. I respect them and the research that they do, and they are, yeah, they're very knowledgeable. I yeah, I do respect Stephen and Evan. Some of their conclusions, I look, everyone has their own interpretation. Okay. Uh, However, I think there's a more logical interpretation for some of the things that they're looking at. Um, if we look at their interpretation of the Gosford glyphs, I don't agree with their interpretation of the Gosford glyphs. I agree with the Egyptologists' interpretation of the Gosford glyphs. And the Egyptologist interpretation of the Gosford glyphs also leads to a larger story about the Egyptians and why they came here, and they came here multiple times, and they came here for quite a while. And yeah, look, as part of it's a fascinating thing. As part of this documentary stuff, it's basically with Sacred Site coming out, there's been a whole heap of research and podcasts that I've been holding back until now. So over the next couple of months, there's going to be a whole lot on the Gosford glyphs. There's going to be releases about some other discoveries that we've made, and some other interpretations. But Stephen and Evan have flown the alternate archaeology flag for a long time, and I do respect their work. And I also had Stephen on. I had a really good time with Steve when he came on the show. It was a few years ago now. You look back, and I think it was an alternate origin theory. Me and Steve sat down for a couple of hours and had a really good discussion. I've been to a couple of their talks and had good chats with them. However, the beauty of this research is that we have our own interpretations and understandings, but they do very good, valuable work. Their initial work on the Gosford glyphs and the videos and stuff that they did early on, with the guy that actually found the Gosford glyphs before he passed, is very, very valuable stuff. But
Yeah, I've
yeah,
actually met
it's
him up at the Cardboard Festival. Actually, and I've been meaning to get him on the show when I put my finger out and get my bloody podcast going again. But yeah, no,
mm,
wonderful bloke, and yeah, they've got some very interesting theories, very
yeah,
strong, and very opinionated on what they sort of find. I
absolutely. And
found,
look, and this is
but
the thing. Yeah, this is the thing. Everyone has their interpretations and their understandings.
yeah,
And look, the stones that Stephen has are
yeah,
very, very fascinating.
and he's
The
very
the
protective of them
stones that
too, isn't he?
they're all very protective. I haven't held them. I've held them with a sheet, but I have held
Yeah,
some of those stones in my hand, and a few of them are very, very interesting, and could lead. I believe actually, if you think about some of Stephen Evans' stuff, I think yes, I've upgraded my camera. I might. I tell you what I'm going to do. Talk to the people for 2 seconds, man. Talk to the people for 2 seconds.
yeah. So in case you guys are actually interested in the Cardboard Festival, there is actually going on this year as well in was it August, I think. I'm going to look at trying to go up there again this year, which was because it was absolutely fantastic going there for the 10-year anniversary. It was absolutely good fun. I should have some footage there now. I found it again. I keep losing the bloody footage there, and keep meaning to go and bloody post it up there, but then I keep losing it again. It's like bloody hell. And of course, time and family and work and gets ahead of you, so you always get bloody thrown behind the back works there, trying to go and get ahead on doing these sort of things there because it takes a lot of time. But we still love doing it there and trying to get into it.
Yeah, let's try
But
that, guys. It's a lighting issue. Apparently, see, the thing is,
oh
guys,
yeah,
yeah, it's a lighting issue.
that'll do it.
Painting your studio purple looks really cool until you try and
It's just not
sort the lighting
practical.
and yeah. And look, I've got all these wicked LED downlights, and but having the light, I think, yeah. So, but now that's sort of a bit bright in my eyes, but it should stop the autofocus going off. So,
The
because
camera's
I
over there,
upgrade,
mate.
yeah, upgraded my camera. I've been trying to. Oh look, do you want here? Do you want a? I can tell you what I can do. It's in Canada's Down Under.
G'day,
You want a
Mish.
weird story? G'day, Mish. Encounters Down Under is the place where I seem to tell my weird stories, guys. So, do you want a weird story about the
We're
stones
down for weird stories. Let's go.
the stones that the Strongs have? So, I went to. Do you know what I think it was like a week before the thing we can't talk about started? Right back in 2020, I think that's when it was. I
Oh
drove
yes.
down. I drove down to northern New South Wales to be part of a conference. It was a 2-day conference with the Strongs, and yeah, they had their stones, and I took a dragon. What's it called? I'll come back to that. So basically, they set the stones up in a circle, in 2 circles, and you came back the second day, and you could sit inside the circle, right? And look, I have crystals everywhere. Okay, I am someone. He's a massive bit of citrine there that I have. I've been playing with crystals since I was a young boy. My mother used to take me to crystal circles when I was like 8, 9, or 10. So that being named Triffon wasn't weird enough. I've been playing with crystals since I was a kid as well. But I'm one of those people who does feel the energy of the stones. I don't think everybody can, right? Because over the years, I've talked some of my mates into, hey, can you hold this and feel this? And they're like, what the bloody hell are you talking about, mate? I can't feel anything. Whereas I do, and I know other people do as well. I think we've all got our gifts, guys. You know what I mean? And so anyway, I've there's got crystals everywhere, and I sat inside the circle and of these stones, and Steve was telling a story about how they'd taken some of the stones down to, because there's is it area 52, or there's where the ley lines cross, somewhere in the back of South Australia, middle of nowhere, right, where all the ley lines cross. And Steve
Uh,
has, yeah, what's it called? You know what I'm saying? It's, where it is.
Pine Gap.
It's not Pine Gap. yeah, it's not Pine Gap. It's called Area 61 or something like that. Leyland
Okay.
61. I can't remember. But anyway, long story short, he was while I'm sitting inside these stones, and look, the energy. The only way to explain it, and it's I'm just going to tell it how I saw it and how I felt it. They were talking to me, right, and they were pretty cheeky, right, because I'm like, oh, I was sitting there just meditating and and these things, they were very chatty, these stones, right? And they're talking to me like, oh, where have you been? It's been a while. We haven't seen you in a while. And I'm like, what do you mean you haven't seen me in a while? Yeah, you took your time. And these things are like literally talking to me. And I can't explain it apart from that. And not like it was more words in my head as opposed to physical sounds, right? And Steve's telling a story about how he had the stones in a bag and he tried to rush across a road in front of a car or a truck or something. And the stones hit him in the leg and he tripped over and basically fell on his face, right? Anthony knows about that. He'd landed on his head the other night. Um, um,
That's from my own
and
doing, though.
yeah, that was yeah, it's all by your own self, that one.
Yeah.
But and the stones started laughing. Like, yeah, that was pretty funny when we did that. Yeah. And I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know how else to explain that. And I had I took a crystal, like a ball, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's not something dragon. It's green and brown with like yellow crystal through it. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And I had this, and basically, with Steve's permission, I charged this crystal ball with the stones, and I had this crystal ball for ages. And a couple of times, and there is recordings of it somewhere, I sat with this stone, and someone recorded me asking questions to the stones, right through that stone, and then that ball, that little crystal ball, vanished into my garden. Yeah, it wasn't Bloodstone, Mish. I can't remember. It's really annoying me that I
Not
can't remember
a
because
Venturine.
Aventurine. No, it's not Aventurine.
Venturine.
It's a dragon.
Quartz.
It's dragon stone. It's like dark. It's like a green with, and it has brown and yellow inclusions in it. And it's a special type of stone that I was very connected to, and was a ball. It was a ball about this thing. And anyway,
Peridot.
not peridot. Yeah,
Braziolite.
no, it's all right. I didn't think. Do you know what's going to happen? I'll text it to you like a midnight. That's when after I remember. Um,
I'm
but yeah,
trying to
anyway,
figure it out.
I had that store, that stone in the garden, and because it wanted to be of the earth, and it's still in my front. Well, I don't know where it is. It disappeared. It's gone. I haven't seen it for years now. And yeah, I went to try and find it in the garden, and it's gone. But yeah, those stones, particularly the one that's got like the A in it. In fact, yeah, I know. I want to remember too, Mish. Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
I'm searching.
Zero mistakes. What is it bloody called? It's not. It's semi rare. The one that I'm thinking about, and because the ball cost me a fair bit wholesale. I remember. Actually, I'll tell you what I can do. No, it's not Piemonite.
It says you can get it off
It's
Temu, mate. Well, it's not expensive.
it's a buy anything on Temu. I tell you what I can do. Considering this is what we're talking about, because I can join this together. Hang on a second. I can join this together. I think we did this. Yeah, we did this slideshow on the show before. So here, mate. Can you give me sharing? Can I get sharing? Can I share,
sorry,
please,
mate.
man?
I'm getting the right. No, you haven't got a thing up there. I can't share it.
Can I share, please?
I've got nothing there to share.
Hang on. Zero mistakes, guys. Zero mistakes. Where are we? Present. Share screen. See, I've even got a screen. I've even got a screen to the left of me here, man. Look, this is
There we go.
This is how fancy we are now, mate, with UTC 3.
Look out. It's up.
Oh, serpentine. It could be serpentine. You might be right. It could be serpentine. Yes, I think it is. Or septarian. Yeah. Yes, yes.
Didn't
I
I
think
say
you're
that?
right there. I think you're right there, guys. Thank you very much. I think you are
Pretty sure I
correct
said
there.
that. Did I
No,
say that?
you said adventuring, didn't you?
Somebody
Oh,
will put me something.
then you were
So I
right
had
as well,
terrain in
bro.
it. It's close enough.
Yeah. I think it's septarian. Yeah, I think you might. I think you might be right. Um, so so for those that have seen, um, that's the strong stones there. Okay,
Mm.
that's me taking photos of their stones in my on a blanket sitting on my lap. Yeah. This one is very interesting. What makes this one more interesting now, after more research, is see how it looks like this A, or whatever you want to call it, has been done in a single pass. Like something has drawn that in a single pass in solid stone. You look at if you look at the Gosford glyphs in particular, the imprint as well. They look like they've been done in a single pass as well. It doesn't look like it's been chipped, if you know what I mean. It doesn't look like it's been ground or chipped. It looks like it's just been drawn. Um, and I had pictures of these, and I was looking at this, thinking about the internal alternate origin theory. Look at the color of that. Okay. So
Mm.
australite tektite is normally these buttons, right? See these buttons? I have got a piece of tektite somewhere as well. Uh, by the sounds of it, there's some people in the chat that know crystals, and if you know crystals, you know that they have a mind of their own, and they disappear, and then they come back, and then they go away, and then they come back again, and that's just what they do. My piece of tektite has disappeared for the moment. It'll come back, but I don't know where it is right now. And I'm not joking. That tektite, right? And now that I'm talking about it, what'll happen? And those that can feel the stones and understand the stones know what I'm talking about. Tomorrow or the next day or something, it'll just be sitting on a table somewhere where it shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I didn't put it there. I didn't. You know what I mean? It'll just be sitting there. But anyway, tektites, australite tektites are normally known as these buttons, right? Then I started looking into this. I saw this. This is considered a tektite as well, right? And if you compare that picture there to this, it's the same. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the same stone, man. I think a lot of these stones that the Strongs have are a variation of tektite. Okay. Now, the australite tektite, this is sort of basically 780,000 years ago in the time before the gods, right? And damn, we can join everything together if we want to, but I can't give the documentary away. For those that know what this is the Palladian star cluster. Okay, now to wet your whistle a little bit, unlocking the code made a discovery, and the Palladian star cluster is represented somewhere here in southeast Queensland. Okay, and I can't. You have to watch the documentary to find out. However, actually, I wonder if John's listening. So Anthony did a backflip and landed on his head, just so people know. But John, he he I don't know what he's doing racing mountain bikes, but broke his finger and punctured his lung.
Yeah. He's done himself a mischief, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit more than a mischief, old John. But anyway,
And he was
hopefully
sober.
yeah. Well, he was racing mountain bikes. What was he doing racing a mountain bike at our age? Like, it's just, don't be silly. Anyway, he helped me with this, so kudos to him. And he gets mentioned in the documentary as well because of the work that he did. But the Palladian star cluster comes into this, and that very picture comes into this as well. The Subaru logo. You are right, Mish. I don't know how they joined that one together, but that's an interesting one. So yeah, look. Long story short, 780,000 years ago. I'll give you the elevator pitch version, guys. Okay. 780,000 years ago, a crystal, something of a crystalline nature, was parked above the planet. It fell into the planet, like it didn't hit us, so it didn't come screaming into the planet like a meteorite or everything else like that. That's the reason these tektites look like these buttons, because they've come in slowly. Right, so Anthony knows what I'm talking about. Meteorite comes in at 17,000 miles an hour. these tektites, they're like buttons, and the reason they're shaped like that is they just fell to Earth. They didn't come screaming in. Okay, if you go into, even NASA agrees, and you can see here in the top right here, this is where these tektites are found in Australia. Okay, yeah, you spend enough time out in the desert in these areas, you'll just pick them up off the ground. And even NASA agrees that 800 odd thousand years ago, there was a crystalline structure in low Earth orbit that broke apart and fell into the planet. Okay. And there's actually a number of different tektites. You can see the Australasian strewn field. There's a Central European, and that's where moldavite comes from. Okay. Someone mentioned moldavite in the chat there. And you can see there is a North American, and then there's an African Ivory Coast strewn field as well. But the Australite tektite is what we're looking at today, because it's, see there, 0.8 million years ago. Okay, 35 million, 15 million, 1 million. Now, as the creation myth goes, basically, and this is part of the indigenous creation myth, there was beings in this. I mean, what is the story, guys? The story is the story is the story. The seven sisters of the Pleiades got chased by the three brothers of Orion across the stars to Earth. They fought it out. There was a battle. The spaceship broke up and fell into the planet. Most of it fell into Australia, as we can see here. And that's what these tektites are. This is part of that crystalline structure. That is physical evidence of that crystalline structure. And then the story goes that whoever these beings were part of this crystalline structure, could not exist on Earth. So they took an upright hominid that existed here in Australia and basically made Homo sapiens. And that is the Palladian story in a nutshell. There's a lot more variation and detail, obviously. And there's a fair few episodes about that in the back catalogue as well. Alternate origin theory. I did a two or three episode deep dive. Again, Steve was part of that when I was looking into that a few years ago. And yeah, I think that these again, and this, so with the Strongs have had this stuff that, see this looks like putty or silicon or something that's in this stone. They've had it tested and no one knows what it is. It's unknown. And this one here on the right is actually a star map. And there's a sister stone, and there's like, these are actually angles, and there's a whole heap of study that Stephen and Evan have done on this. That is quite interesting. As I say, some of this work is very, very interesting, and this is part of it. But this is part of the creation myth, okay? And this is part of the tektite myth. And it was only after I sat with the stones, and then after I sat with the stones and I sat with everything else, this all sort of dropped in and came to me, and I didn't realize. Again, this is my interpretation of some of their stuff. I mean, yeah, we got Paracas skulls. Yeah, we did this slideshow, I'm pretty sure, didn't we, Anthony? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think we did just before Crazy.
Yeah. We did this slideshow before, but
So I just want to go a little bit against the narrative here on these stones, right?
Sure.
So basically, what we're getting, it's a polished version on the outside there, which could have a layer of clay around it or something like that, to sort of give it that outside layer. Mm-hmm. And the inner parts could be just the inside of the stone. It
could be. And look, you could be. And these, who knows? These stones have been handled.
It's just been carved on the outside of the polished part.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This stuff, this is, I've got other photos that I could bring. I'd have to dig, but I took photos of all four sides of all these stones, and there's more than these two. And a number of them have this weird, it looks like, I don't know, silicon or some sort of something in it. And, as Stephen and Evan say, they have sent it away to a lab to be tested, and they don't know what it is. I understand, dude, that it's a bit of a leap for me to say to you that these are bits of a crystal spaceship, right? I understand.
Look, you got to open up the narrative, go against it a little bit, question it, and go, well, how?
Absolutely. Look, this was just something that I joined together. I'm not saying that it is the case. The
No, that's it.
the only thing I would say with the Palladian story, which backs up the Tektites. So there's two bits of interesting evidence here, right? Number one, the Palladian creation story, or a version of what I just told you, that the seven sisters of the Pallades got chased by the three brothers of Orion, blah blah blah, across the stars, da da da. That is not just the Australian Indigenous creation story. That is the um, creation story for a fair percentage of Indigenous cultures around the world. That um, we were interfered with, right? Not, intervention as opposed to evolution, right? Um,
Yeah.
and the other one with the physical evidence side, so the tektites. Okay, now we've got to draw a bit of a bow here and say that we went to the moon. Okay, I know some people in the chat won't agree with that, right?
You gonna start something?
Um, uh, not trying to start anything. Okay, we could talk about the moon, but the the samples they brought back from the moon. Okay, so let's say again, NASA agrees there was something in low Earth orbit, and this is how it's been mapped by science in inverted commas. The tektite strewn fields again. Um, there's multiple strewn fields that we can see. Okay, and this is all agreed upon, and they
Mm.
agree that there was something in low Earth orbit that fell into the planet that creates these buttons. Okay, and like little round stones and bits and pieces. In the rock samples that they brought back from the moon, again, let's pretend. So the story goes that the ship exploded in low Earth orbit and fell into the planet. In some of the samples they brought back from the moon, if it was found in Australia, would be australite tektite. So the same crystalline substance was found on the moon as is found in Australia. Um, yeah, it's fascinating, man. It's one of those ones where you have to draw a few long bows for sure.
Mm.
However, what if 1% is true, Anthony? Remember what we do? What if 1% is true,
That's
man?
right. So
Yeah.
a question. So in regards to this Tektite, right? Are we saying these buttons are like a claim to the certain territories, or they come in those sort of different forms in those certain areas? Like, is there a commonality? Is that the right word? Um, a common stone that's the shape they've been getting in the certain areas they've dropped into?
Yeah, well, no, it's the tektite is the stone. It is the bit of crystal that's dropped out of this thing. It's
Oh
all
no,
the
no, I know
same
that, but
stone.
they
Yeah,
come in like these that button shape seems like it'd be a
yeah.
common sort of.
If you see here, so if we can, yeah, let's right. So you got the up to 350 grams. Some of them are up to 400 grams. It depends on how much they fell. Right, they can be up
Yeah,
to a kilo. Right, they have been found to
geez,
be up to a kilo.
that's a good
Um,
effort.
but the common form is they're either shaped like these buttons, like you see. That's a good
Yeah,
close up on them there. Or you can see some of them are like teardrops. See that? Right?
yeah, yeah,
Or like ovals, right? And basically, the reason they are that shape is that they didn't fall into the earth with any sort of speed. They just fell through gravity,
yeah,
right? So they just, again, something exploded, and it wasn't a rock that came hurling out of space. It was something let go in low Earth orbit, and these things just fell.
yeah.
But
I was more so asking, like, if are the buttons more of a common thing found in Australia compared to the other locations, or are they more of like that teardroppy, or is there like some sort of odd shape to them, like in the other
so these
similar
ones,
to the
see
one there?
these ones here. If you look up Moldavite, Moldavite is probably the other one that everyone would know about. The ones in off the Ivory Coast in, saying, oh, where are we? If we go, so yeah, Moldavite is one that's green, right?
Yeah,
Anyone that knows stones would have found some Moldavite. The Ivory Coast stuff's pretty hard to find, and along with the North American strewn field as well. But Moldavite, very easy to find, and it looks a little bit like this one here. It's green. Yeah, it has bubbles in it. That's right, Mish. Yeah. And if
yeah,
you look at, again, though, they are like teardrop or round shaped. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
so, right, so depending on different areas, they have got some sort of different sort
Yeah,
of
some
altercation
variation.
to them,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, well, it depends on how they entered the atmosphere, I think, Anthony, as well. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
Like
what I'm
how,
trying to get
yeah.
grasp with, like, if there was some sort of thing to do with the different atmospheres at the time or
Mm,
wherever they're falling in at the time, have they caused,
mm.
like, some sort of different sort of oddity to
Yeah,
them?
absolutely. Yeah, and they do have variation. And I think it's another one of those things where, see, my one, wherever it is, and like I said, it'll reappear in the next week or so now that we're talking about it, looks exactly like that. But
Yep.
it's only about, it's only about that big. Like it's probably the size of like a
You're not you're not in
Tom
Canada, so no one
marble.
will see you. So, yeah.
Oh, like a Tom
Yes.
marble. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
a Tom. Yeah, we can stop share
Mhm.
that anyway. But yeah,
You do that, yeah.
that's a no, it's all good, man. We're good. That's a roundabout way of sharing some of the stuff I learned from Steve, and
Yeah.
some of the research that comes from that, and the interpretation that comes from that as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and again, this is, we talk about sacred site. Okay, coming back to what we're here for tonight, the documentary Sacred Site. The link's in the comments. Please give it a watch. It's the ability to sit back and, again, I'm not saying, yeah, exactly, Jane, from Eastern Europe, in the Russia there, yeah, up there in the up there in the Czech Republic. It's found in Eastern Europe in large quantities. Yeah, exactly. Um, I'm not saying that any of this is true. What I'm saying is, this is the creation story of multiple indigenous cultures. So it's not what I'm
Mm.
saying, that's what they're saying. And then you take that and you have your own interpretation of that. It's important to understand that it's all interpretation. I think one of the things I say in the documentary is that I'm very wary, like the research that I just showed you guys on the slideshow there, that's all mine. Right. I pulled it out, I dug it out, I looked at it, and again, before I sit here with you, Anthony, I've looked at the for and the against. You know what I mean? I've looked at what's
Mm.
the other theory, what's this theory, and what's the theory in between, and then what's my understanding of all those theories. And you've got to have the sight to see. It's
Yeah.
the reality is, we don't know what makes you Anthony and me Triffon, or Mish or Jane or Woody or Daniel, or you know what I mean, that we don't know. And to pretend that we do know, it's not true. We don't know. We don't know what makes us conscious. Um, you know, Evolution from apes and hominids is very thin, man. Like, if you look at Darwin's evolution theory, if you actually read about it and actually look at it objectively, it's very thin. And so is everything else, right? If we come back to the megalithic civilization stuff, copper tools and copper chisels is like a 2 to 3 on the hardness scale, and apparently they were
Mm.
used to make the granite blocks in picky culture around the world that has a hardness of 6 to 7 or 7 or 6 to 8. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Right? There's the doesn't matter how much you bash copper onto granite, it's not going to work. You know what I mean?
It just pretty much just bends up and it's not gonna do jack
Yeah,
shit.
it's not going to do well. Yeah, you're in mining, man. You know what I mean? Like, think about the tips, and the drill tips and the diamond tips and the
Yeah.
carbide tips and all that stuff, the hardened steel and all the things that we've worked with, through our mining and oil and gas days.
Yeah.
And I've seen sandstone. You hit a big, massive bit of sandstone with a drill rig with a diamond coated bit. Uh,
Mhm.
it'll destroy a diamond coated bit after a while. You know what I mean? Like, that's not copper. That's designed to punch through that stuff. And if you
Yeah.
keep going, it's not going to work. Like, it's the accepted narrative, and oh, we know, we know. No, we don't. No, we don't. That's why I say I don't know, because I don't know either. Just because I'm a lunatic that's done my 10,000 hours doesn't mean that I know. It just means that I'm a lunatic that's done 10,000 hours.
No, there's definitely no self-proclaimed bloody experts around here. Absolutely not.
Well, no, what is it? What is it? It's not a sophomaniac.
Oh, what
Uh,
do we,
yeah, what are we?
I think.
I can't. Whatever I can't
Yeah.
remember what it is, but the interpretation is that we're it's someone who has the delusion that they're intelligent.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, it's not a sophomaniac. It's I can't. We're a bit rusty, mate, aren't we? We're a bit
We are.
rusty. We are a bit rusty. So look, yeah,
Yeah, like
guys,
as Jane says, like there's a lot of different theories of evolution. There's just pick one, I
absolutely.
suppose, and try and run with it.
Well, and the thing is, it's like if we talk about the ancient advanced civilization, we talk about the cataclysm that happened 12,800 years ago. There's teams, right? It's like team solar flare versus team meteorite versus team, reversal, magnetic reversal or something like that.
Mm.
And that seems to be, as humans, we're hardwired to pick a team, right? I mean, and again, just widen
Yeah.
your gaze from 2020 until now, right? Um, what if it's D all the above? Okay. If it is a big giant rock that smashed into the ice shelf that caused the floods to rise to sea level 300 meters, I would say that big giant rocks smashing into an ice shelf, causing massive undue catastrophe across the surface of the planet, might release some volcanoes, might put a vibration through the planet that disrupts the magnetic field, which then
Mm.
allows the solar flares to get through. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't.
It sounds plausible.
Why does it have to be one or the other? What if it's not D or the above? So, we talk about theories of evolution. What if evolution of this planet and the life of this planet is happening side by side with something else? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what if the beings from the ocean are really the like, it's everyone getting it, not everyone, and I think the awesome listeners that we have are more open minded than most to different understandings. But don't pick a team. Don't pick a side. It could be D or the above. Like,
Yeah.
it's an interesting one. I tell you what, though, we did have a win, us in the advanced alternative megalithic space. So in the documentary, Loomis talks about the trees that were planted at Göbekli Tepe and the fact that they could potentially have they were there to try and stop excavation.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to say that's, yep.
Yep. They pulled the trees.
Oh, did
They
they?
took the trees away because everyone went, hang on a minute, aren't those trees going to affect the, aside from anything else, aren't those trees going to affect the megalithic stuff that's still under the ground? And they went, oh,
Yeah.
no, no, no. And then they're going, oh, hang on, no, yeah, yeah. And they've actually pulled the trees out. And that is pure social pressure through social media, because everyone went,
Good.
what's going on? What are you doing putting trees at Göbekli Tepe? Why are you stopping excavation? And won't the trees actually hurt the whatever's left under the ground? And they had to cave and they pulled the trees. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Was there mention of like who or like decided to go and plant those trees? Like, is it the private property or was it a government that decided to go and try and do this?
There's a couple of various stories. So the Davos Group, which is attached to the World Economic Forum, definitely paid for the structure. Ooh,
Mm.
Brian found his macroscope.
So hang on.
Brother, write that down, man. Brother, write that down for me, man. We got to catch up soon. Got to catch up soon. So what Brian is doing is he's analysing some moulds that we took down at the Gosford Glyph, and we took some samples of lichen and stuff out of the glyphs as well. We didn't break anything, touch anything, or everything was left exactly as we found it, with the greatest respect. However, Brian has been playing with it. I got Brian a macroscope. He's another brother from Unlocking the Code. I knew that he'd get excited once he got the macroscope out. Brian is an ex-forensic scientist, and yes, I knew he'd get excited once he'd start playing. That's cool. Thank you. Thanks, boys. Thank you. we will chat. Yeah, so basically there's a couple of different versions of that story as far as the trees, right? So yes, the Davos group, which is attached to the WEF, did pay for the structure that goes over Göbekli Tepe. They did pay for the tourist center at Göbekli Tepe. They did, they're attached in that way for sure. The family that owns the land that Göbekli Tepe was on, basically the government was trying to buy the land from the family that owned it, and the story went that the family planted the trees because in Turkey, if you have olive trees on your land, the land is now worth 2 to 3 times more than it was. Okay.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yep.
That's the story. But it's and it's like, so where's the truth? Yes, the Davos group are definitely involved. The WEF are definitely involved. But there's the sale of the land, the government buying it. Like there's a twisted web in there somewhere of what is truth, and I'm not real sure what it is, because Loomis does put that in the documentary that the World Economic Forum is invading it. And look, I do know that the Davos group suggested no more excavation. I do know that. And again, why?
I wonder why.
Why? That's the oldest temple on the planet. Why? What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Because I think we've even discussed it too with over in Egypt, where there are all their tunnels and shit underneath those pyramids and the Sphinx and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, well, why won't they let us go down there and bloody try and find other stuff?
Look,
like, what's so desperate?
What's the secrets, man? Well, look, Trevor, there's another guy, Trevor Grassi, that we need to gang up on, Anthony. He's another researcher, and I've been trying to get him on a show. Sorry, I've got a mosquito.
No, he's been flying around for a while.
I know, but I nearly died from a mosquito. I nearly died from a mosquito bite, man. I'm a little bit
yes, you would
violent when it comes to mosquitoes.
Did you get that old dengue fever or something? Did you?
No, I got chikungunya, which
apparently there's a Japanese virus going through now with the mosquitoes or some shit.
Yeah. If you look at if you look at news.com any day of the week, there's a different virus, mate. Let's not start that. I will get that little bastard though. No, I got a jungle virus called chikungunya, which sort of sounds like you order it with a side of rice, doesn't it? But
I did. I was actually looking for where's the rice.
I tell you what, well, coming from a man that landed on his head 2 days ago, imagine all of your injuries coming back at the same time. Every injury you've ever had, every break, every strain, every sprain, that's what it does, man. Anywhere you've had inflammation in your body, it comes back. To put that into perspective, I played AFL for close to 20 years. So that's both ankles, both knees, lower back, both shoulders. You know what I mean? It was terrible. But we don't need to tell that story tonight. But that's the reason I've been tracking that mosquito. I'm like, get that little bastard. So
g'day, cuz.
So let's have playing with the macroscope, studying the mold, and you confirm those glyphs are definitely thousands of years old. There was way too much natural weathering to imitate within the last few hundred years. The weathering on the inside of the carving is almost identical to the outside. Wow. Okay. We need to talk. So, Brian is an ex-forensic scientist who's analysing... sorry, guys. I think I got him. Yes. So actually the imprint of the imprint, right? So what Brian is analysing is microcil. All right. Actually, hang on a second. Just talk to the people for 2 seconds, man.
So in case people are wondering why Triff keeps mentioning this head injury of mine there, I was on a bit of a bender there on the weekend there. And, as you do after a few brewskis there, you go and get on the kids' trampoline there.
What Brian is analysing there is this, or the version of this. This is an imprint of the imprint, and he can put that under a macroscope and basically see what he can see with it. I've got to put some photos up of the imprint, but that's basically what he's doing.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to see because of a bit of glare from the light.
Yeah, because of the light, yeah. But it's basically, it's a type of putty that is used to identify murder weapons. It's used in forensic science. But we're taking it and using it to get molds of things to see the depth and the consistency of the mold, and even through the visual eye under the macroscope, Brian can see more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. That's going to be interesting in the outcome of that.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Very, very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
But to continue on my little story there, so yeah, after a few brewskis and a bit of a bender there, jumped on the kids' trampoline there and decided to do a backflip and landed on my head and cracked all my neck and whatnot, and bit of a quick little hospital trip there to go and make sure my neck wasn't broken.
I didn't realize you're on a
You know,
trampoline as well, you lunatic.
yeah, yeah, a couple of front flips, like, oh, hey, they went all right. Then I can do a backflip, but no, went to shit.
Oh, so you completed a couple of front flips before you attempted the
Oh,
backflip.
well, I landed on my ass as a front flip, you know, like that's probably
Oh
that still
yeah,
counts,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'd give it to you.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
the
I
full.
messed up the jump. I was meant to try and land on my belly as a backflip, but it kind of went head first. So good thing my head saved me. So it's a good thing.
I don't know what the blood moon did to the boys in the chat, but everyone had a crack at trying to hurt themselves over the weekend.
The
I
things you
didn't
do
hurt.
when you're on the piss.
I didn't hurt myself, but I went for a ride on Sunday and then got a bee in my bonnet. Ended up riding for 50 kilometers, which
Jesus, that's a good effort.
yeah, awesome. Well, I just rode to the end of the rail trail from here, so like it's 20 something k's to Ipswich from my house,
Yeah.
and yeah, but I got to the other end. I'm like, you got to turn around now, dude. You got to ride back.
Just keep
And
going.
yeah, well, that was the thing. Oh, I'll just keep going. I'll just keep going. I'll just keep going. Yeah. So, but I am very, I'm very excited with what Brian can see, what he can see, because he's looking at wear rates and stuff like that. Yeah, Jane. So just to answer Jane there, I'm not sure about the moss of the lichen at the glyphs. When we went there, they were covered. They were covered in moss and lichen and different variations of moss and lichen. And yeah, we very, very gently took some samples to identify what kind of moss and lichen it was to ascertain how old it was. And the reality is, the story goes, the accepted story with the Gosford glyphs is still to this day that they were done by an ex-soldier post World War One, or which it just, for anyone that's actually been to the Gosford glyphs, no way. There's no way. There's just no way. Right? There's just that is so much bullshit. Even though because if you think about, even to find them today, unless you know where you're going, it's not easy. If you rewind 100 years ago, then no, oh yes, no, road trip, absolutely. Yeah, see, Mr. Menglin, I knew Brian would get excited once he started playing. I just had to get him to get that thing out of the box. Yes, no, we've got to go back, boys. We've got to go back. Maybe we do a CODA trip to the Gosford glyphs again. Like I said, guys, there's a whole range of research that's going to come out of the glyphs. We went there, to wet everybody's whistle a little bit. We went there at winter solstice. We were there on the morning of winter solstice, and those that know that every single megalithic or sacred site lines up to either winter or summer solstice. And was there an alignment at the Gosford glyphs at winter solstice? Not last year, but depending on how you use your clock and how you measure the sun and how you measure the distance of the sun and the degrees and how many degrees it would take at a certain point at the Gosford glyphs, then yes, very much there was a no, it's still look, the state of them, there has been, so the cave, if you go into where the glyphs used to be, or are they still there, there's definitely some that have gone now at the bottom left, and the little cave that was off to the left there has been filled in. They have actually broken some of, like there was a rock shelf that used to sit over the top like a roof. They've broken that. They've definitely messed with it. And look, we took photos of all that. Like I said, there's a whole heap of podcasts and research that has sort of been waiting for the documentary to, well, Here's an I'll give you something about the Gosford Glyph stuff. When we went there was all these signs from the New South Wales government that said they were looking into the people that had vandalised the glyphs and had done whatever they'd done. So it's like, so it wasn't the government that did that. Then if it wasn't the government, then who did it? It wasn't the council
Yeah.
that did it. Who did it? Who was actually the person or the people that actually did it? And there was some telltale excavator marks and holes, and there was a lot of weirdness around that. Again, we did there's some shows coming out. Keep an eye out on the UTC feed over the coming weeks and months, because there's going to be a whole heap of stuff that comes out about that, because it was strange. It was very strange. There's some of the things we found and some of the things we saw. But yeah, they've definitely been messed with, but the core of them is definitely still there.
Sounds a little bit suspect. I was like, who was it? Rio Tinto that blew up the Aboriginal site a few years back?
Yeah. Like I said, there was signs up there from the New South Wales. Yeah, there was signs up there from the New South Wales government saying they were looking into whoever vandalised the glyphs or messed with them. Like, well, hang on a minute, wasn't it you guys that did it?
Yeah.
So it's like, if it wasn't you, then who was it?
Did you find them?
Yeah, I don't know. It was strange. And like I said, there was a couple of holes, and Anthony, as an operator, you will know, like when you dig a hole, there's dirt that needs to be, you can see where the dirt is. Here's the hole. Where's the dirt from the hole? There was a few holes around the glyphs where there was the hole. There's no dirt though. Someone took the dirt away. All right. And there was a holes underneath glyphs on the outside of the rocky ridge where the glyphs are, where someone had dug a hole and taken all the dirt with them. You got to beg the question, what's in that dirt? You know what I mean? You don't just take a pile of dirt with you, because
that's right.
It's curious, man. It's curious, and yeah, I'm glad that Brian is having a play, because I knew he'd see some stuff that I can't see, because he's got an eye that I don't have. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. Well, brother, you're at work. I don't know what time you got to start work tomorrow, but do you want to?
Pajama day for me, so I'm all good.
Oh, you got pajama day tomorrow?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
So it's
nice for some, isn't it? Hey.
Oh yeah.
Well, so look, we've got a fair few people watching in the chat here, guys. Maybe this is the time you throw some curly questions at us, or Anthony, have you got any questions after watching? Topics, or normally you guys throw some curly topics at me and keep me on my toes. So, what do you want me to rant about? What do you want to chat about? Let me know, guys, and then.
Well, wait, I got a question for you then. So, if you're going to go for another trip down to the glyphs there, are you going to try and get a hold of a LiDAR and have a crack at it?
So, look, Jane, just so everybody understands, and that I've said this on recording and
you've done this a few times,
yeah. So basically, any field trip that I go on in Australia, not only do I and does myself and anyone else who is with us, we bring gifts for the Indigenous who do inhabit the land. We ask for guidance, and we ask for understanding, and we make it very clear that we are peaceful explorers just trying to search for the truth or whatever is there to find. We always do a ceremony at the start, and that could vary depending on where we are and what we're doing. We've done smoking ceremonies, we've done fires, we've done all manner of things, and everybody, we never take anything, and we always leave a gift behind. And if as I say, we took a sample, a mold off the rock, right? So the rock is exactly as it was. We just took a mold from it. We left a gift for us being allowed to take that mold. Okay. And we always do that. Um, always do that every time, and and it's quite fascinating. So actually, I'll tell you a quick funny story. Um, One of the other boys, not Woody in the chat, but other Woody, Matt in the Hat Woody. One of the times we went to Gympie at the we actually and so me and my crew were one of the last proper field teams to go into the Gympie Pyramid before it was or what Jucky Kundu before the side of it was cut off. I've got all the field photos. We were the last crew to it. We actually took a ground penetrating radar into the Gympie into the Jucky Kundu, and it wasn't that time, but one of the times before. I told the boys to bring a gift with them and to give an offering to the land and to make sure that you give an offering. And one of the boys didn't bring an offering, and so the land took his favorite pocket knife, right? A pocket knife that he's had in his pocket on his belt since forever, that has never fallen off and never come off and has never, you know what I mean? Like this pocket knife doesn't go anywhere. We get to the end of the trip and he's like, "Where's my pocket knife? Pocket knife's gone. Why is the pocket knife gone? Because you didn't give something." Right. So, you've got to make sure that you approach everything that you do with the utmost respect and understanding, and you ask for guidance and you ask for, just to allow safe passage through whatever you're doing. Look, I've heard crazy stories where people don't do stuff like that and they bounce their heads off rocks and people break arms, and because you can't, this planet is older than we can ever understand. In Australia in particular, I think is a deeply magical place, for want of a better term, and you must respect that and understand that, and you always need to know what you're doing and where you're doing it, and you got to approach it with that respect and understanding. And I would do that anywhere, and again, I always take more gifts to, being someone who talks to the stones in general. I take a few stones with me. Actually, here's something funny. If I just reach over here, here's something I prepared earlier. Not really. What I will generally do, guys, is I would take, there's a box here, and that is a box of stones that I've been collecting since I was a boy. In general, I will grab one or two of these that talk to me. Here's one. Actually, here's one that I got. That's an indigenous. You can't really see because I've got to mess with the lighting, but that's got a dot painting on it. That stone, and that was given to me by an indigenous elder many years ago. There's all sorts of stuff in here, and I would generally pick one or two from this box and take them with me, and instinctually just leave them. Right? It's like, in fact, you talk about the grandmother tree, the Gosford glyphs. What a beautiful, amazingly matronly tree that she is. One of the most amazing trees I've ever seen. What a lot of people don't talk about is there's actually a warrior tree that sits over the glyphs, because there's always balance, guys. There's the masculine and the feminine. And there's a warrior tree that sits above the glyphs. And it's so obvious when you look up and look at it. It's like, of course, that's a boy. And you talk about, communication and all that sort of stuff. I talk to that tree, and I don't know how else to tell you apart from that. I had some very strange experiences at the Gosford glyphs in the few days that I was there. Jane's question, do you think there's anything inside the pyramid? We're talking about Jucky Kundu. How do I be diplomatic about this? Extraordinary client.
That was the Gympie pyramid.
Gympie, yeah.
They cut it in half, didn't they?
Yeah, they nearly cut it in half. The top of the ridge line mostly is still there. The problem, again, how do I be diplomatic about this? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Now, between me and a group of Unlocking the Code explorers, and a couple of them might be listening now, between us, we spent the best part of $3,000 to $4,000 driving up to Kundu, hiring ground penetrating radar, drones, photos, you name it. And yes, there is something. I didn't get that little bastard. Did he? No. Sorry. I could show you some photos. I could bring some photos up. There was definitely, again, we were the last field crew to do a proper analysis, for want of a better description. And yes, we found some very, very interesting stuff. We found and saw some very interesting things. But the story of there's a cave under there, we went back, right? We went back last year before, and look, the thing about exploring, guys, and Loomis does say this in the documentary as well, don't go and start poking around in places and things unless you're prepared to walk on private property, if we just put it like that, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay. And we basically snuck down the railway line to see if we could get across to the Gympie to Kundu when it was still under construction. And one of the stories was you go along the railway line and there was a big concrete on the side of the railway line. There was a big bit of concrete, and the story went, oh,
hang on,
that's a bit weird. The story went that there was a.
All right, we're good.
We're good. Someone's going to get in trouble for that. You don't let the horns go off at camp at 10 o'clock at night. So someone's going to be in trouble. The story went that there was a cave behind the concrete, and that cave had bones in it and blah, 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 blah. There was a big, long story behind it. Basically, I could take you to that where that cave supposedly is now, and they built the highway directly behind it. The other issue with the Gympie Pyramid is that TMR, which is the transport main roads, actually conferred with the Cubby Cubby. They had got him that time. They actually conferred. They actually conferred with the Cubby Cubby. TMR had Indigenous people going through with the site as they did the digging and as they did the removal and as they did all that. They crossed their T's and dotted their I's with that. However, certain other people that say they're Cubby Cubby would have you believe that that's not the case. It is very much the case. That is exactly what happened. There was definitely things on that hill, though, right? Step away. There was definitely things on that hill, without a shadow of a doubt. Let me. Here we go.
I think we discussed this last time too, actually.
Yeah, we might have. Yeah, we might have. Hang on. I've got some. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a crazy person, and I've made a number of slideshows. Look, guys, part of what I really want to try and do this year as well is actually give a talk in Southeast Queensland that we'll try and get on a live thing as well. Because, I've got 8 years and thousands of hours worth of research. Probably the most interesting thing that I found. Yeah, show that. So what we would like to do, what we'd have the opportunity to do is a modern test with recreating carvings using the same type of stone, using different metal inputs to recreate tool impressions. Yeah. Look, the thing is, boys, we are having a conversation. Let's have a conversation offline, okay? Because we can do that quite easily using sandstone. Okay, so basically most of the stuff that's at the glyph is a variation of sandstone, same at the imprint as well. We want to do the same thing at the imprint as what you guys are talking about there. We want to do that at the glyphs as well. So, boys, what I would do, Daniel and Brian are brainstorming somewhere in Bow Desert right now, right? Write that down, boys, and let's have a chat offline, okay? You're definitely on the right track. And we're definitely I'm already making plans to do something very, very similar to that. Obviously not, again, as you say, don't touch the site itself, but we can recreate it or using very similar stone and using different techniques to see what we can see. And Brian, I can, like I said, brother, we got a long conversation to have because I've got hours worth of research that I've already thought about that I wanted to have a chat to you once you wet your whistle. So, yeah, we'll have a chat soon. We'll have a chat offline, boys. Probably the most interesting thing I found at Gympie was, I'm sure we've shared this before, but I'll share it. It doesn't hurt to share it again.
Yeah.
Is you want to chuck that up for me, please, sir?
And
One of the most interesting things I found is what I dubbed the preparation stone. Okay. So the story goes, guys, so when we talk about manipulating stone and actually talking about what, Daniel's talking about now, is how did they make these imprints? How did they cut these big, massive stones? The story goes is that there's a combination of three separate things, and prickly pear is one of them. And just by chance, prickly pear is found in abundance at Jakikundu, and it's a bit strange. It shouldn't be found there, but it is found there. Now, it should be said that this thing of three things creates a elixir that can melt stone comes from South America, guys, not from Egypt. Okay. There's also the polygonal masonry of the church at Gympie as well. However, there's three ingredients. One of them is prickly pear. You add to these other two ingredients to prickly pear, it basically creates an acid, for want of a better term, that can melt stone. Now, what I believe that we found there this day on the field trip up there, I think this is them testing it, right? So if you look at this here, and if we can zoom in, I've got better tools now, Anthony. Look at that.
Look at that.
Hey,
fancy stuff.
hey, we get UTC3, mate. We're not here to fuck spiders, mate. I tell you. You can actually see striations in there. You see that, brother? Right? What I think they've done here, right, is this is actually them preparing the solution here, right? Because it actually looks like it's melted. If you look at it, it looks like it's melted. And when you actually touch that, it was smooth to the touch. Okay, it was not rough like if you look at this, like
you can see the rest of the stones all rough,
very rough. And you can see the difference, how smooth it is, right? I think that that's why I dubbed this the preparation stone. I think this is them preparing the fluid, whatever it is. I think this is them sharpening their tools, right? And I can show you many other versions of, let's pretend it's a Neolithic granite axe or something like that. This was a limestone, the stuff that was up on Jakikundu. I think this is them preparing the stone or preparing the tool, right? And then, that's just a hatchet where they've test cut.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where they've sharpened, and that's where they've test cut. And I seriously think that's what we're looking at there. And there's no real other explanation for it, right? And you can see here, like this is some of the other stuff we found in the field trip up there. Like these look like blocks cut out of there, right? There you go. There's a better picture of it. It looks like there's been a block cut out of there. We found that as well, which looks like it's been cut.
Yeah,
roughly cut. This is supposedly a photo. So basically, actually, we'll put the bat signal out. Me and the coders are trying to find a copy of Brett Green's book, The Gympie Pyramid. It's from the 30s. It's good luck trying to find a copy. However, Brett Green, The Gympie Pyramid, it's rare as hen's teeth. We're trying to find a copy of that book. So if anyone has a copy or knows someone who knows someone, please get in touch with me, because even if I could just borrow it and read it on the show, because I want to, out of all the field trips we've done up there, we want to figure out what it is. So this is the classic photo that is the top of the Gympie Pyramid. It's not. If you stand at the summit of where the Gympie Pyramid would be, there's not trees like that behind you. See this? All right, see this tree line behind it?
Oh, yeah.
That yeah, that's not there, and that's
Hmm.
why I know it's. That's why I know it's not. That's what it is. Um, yeah, but supposedly there was a standing stone circle on top of the Gympie Pyramid at some point that was bulldozed. There was two big stones. Again, I've got a hell heap of field photos and data. Um, yeah, and I realised I hadn't actually answered Jane's question. I don't think so, Jane. I don't think there's anything underneath it. We did take ground penetrating radar up there. Again, it was a primitive ground penetrating radar that's mainly used to look for service for pipes and stuff underground, because obviously I couldn't get a proper one from the university. Well, I don't even know if they have one. But the ground penetrating radar, we drove that thing up and down Jackie Kundu all day, and there was nothing conclusive that came back from it. And we sent the data away to someone who could analyze it, and there was nothing conclusive. It was definitely something, though. The big question is whether or not the polygonal masonry wall that is at the church came from here. We still may be able to confirm that, but that's not something that I would like to discuss on a live. And yeah, so you can see here, actually, there's an old aerial photo, right? See that there? All right, if you're
Yep.
standing on the peak, that lot of trees is lower than the peak. All right,
Yeah,
it's hard to
definitely. Oh,
tell.
yeah.
But so
What about the
that's
other
not.
way, though?
Yeah, the other way it's not. There's nothing. The other way it's down into a creek. It's
Right.
a plain. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Are
what
we talking?
the glyphs also had like a standing stone circle too, didn't it?
But look,
Yeah,
there's
across the sea.
no. The Australia's Stonehenge was standing stones in Mullumbimby, northern New South Wales. Right, you just take a
Yeah, I
drive to
remember that one.
Byron
Yeah.
Bay, and there's standing stones everywhere. They had, and we're sort of steering into a different territory where it's like there was the language of the symbols that the Indigenous have, which was very similar to hieroglyphs. Okay,
Mm.
um, and look, I think with Gympie, oh, here we go. And again, this is so basically, if you, there you go, this is the polygonal masonry.
Yeah, this is all in the documentary too, by the way.
Yeah, this is in the documentary as well. Yeah. And I sent Loomis because I've got video. It's pretty bad video, but I've got some video footage that I sent to Loomis. So here's one wall. Here's another one. Here's another one. If you sort of look, the terraces went about 4 deep. If we're starting to talk about step pyramids, honestly, I think if it is anything at Gympie, you can sort of see there's one, there's one, there's one. See that? You can sort of see there's one, there's one, there's one. And that's the best. That's the best one. All the rest of them don't look as good as that. And obviously, definitely don't anymore. There was gold at Gympie, guys. There was gold. And then you go, okay, then you zoom out. Did the Indigenous Australians have any use for gold? No, they thought it was a useless yellow rock. They love crystal, right? In fact, the Indigenous of northern New South Wales have been trading in crystal literally since before Jesus was a boy, literally, and tens of thousands, who knows, right? Which is fascinating because the Crystal Castle's down there and is still one of the biggest traders of crystal to this day. Interesting, the echoes. I think it was Tardo 666 somewhere in the chat said everything's linear, it's all happening at the same time. Also, time isn't linear, it's all happening at the same time. Yeah, I think it might have had something to do with gold. So then, okay, who liked gold? Well, the South Americans like gold. The Egyptians like gold.
Europeans like gold. Nearly everyone.
Yeah, but who built step pyramids? The South Americans and the Egyptians, right?
Yeah.
Then you join the Gosford Glyph story, which tells a story of a boat coming, basically getting caught in a storm, and the glyphs are a story of the survival of the people. with the scribe and whoever was left, and one of them got bit by a snake, and then the other one lived happily ever after with the indigenous until he passed. Um, yeah, I mean, the thing is, we got to release ourselves from the narratives that we have in our mind, right? So, what if we were circumnavigating the globe? What if the ancient Egyptians were circumnavigating the globe 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago? You know, what if the Incans or the Aztecs or the Mayans or whoever was circumnavigating the globe? What if we had that technology to do that? What if it was prior to the last cataclysm? What if it was prior to 13,000 years ago? You know, like we need to release
Yeah,
ourselves. You know, we talk about sacred site. We come back to the documentary, sacred site. It's like, okay, can you widen your gaze enough to look at things from a perspective that may not be real? You know, not real, but it's like if everything is bullshit, and if the last few years are
give
anything to
real
go
evidence
by,
to it.
um, and and part of the reason for the documentary, guys, is to discuss why can't we know this, right?
Yeah,
I mean, how many hours have we sat here, Anthony, with these awesome people who join us for these lives, and we've discussed this stuff a lot, and it's
yeah,
like, I know the thing is, me and Anthony, we go back and forth, offline as well, right?
yeah.
Anthony's my skeptical friend, right? I throw stuff at Anthony. Uh, I've still got a bit of whimsy, right? I like to believe, and Anthony likes to tell me to shut up. So, you know, um,
I've still got the open mind there. It's just like just
I know you've
nothing.
still got an open mind, but no, you know what I'm saying, brother. It's all in love. It's
I
all
know.
in love. But I think, with Anthony, I know what I've seen with Anthony in the last few years of us working together. When we started, you were very skeptical of some of this stuff, and I see you now go, oh yeah, no, I can see
It
that.
makes
You know what I
sense.
mean?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm not trying to present this like I know, and I'm not trying to present this like it's the gospel, but it's like, just look at the dots, man. You know what I mean? It's like, here's
yeah.
the jigsaw puzzle.
Oh, absolutely.
There's something to it. You know what I mean? There's something to it. You know?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yin yang. There you go, Tato.
yeah. I
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
Me and Anthony. Yeah, yeah. No, look, man, I love working with Anthony. That's why we. Every time our podcasts start to dwindle, someone drags someone out. So
It's
you
been
haven't
a
done a
while.
show.
It's like, we need to
Yeah,
get in this again. You know.
yeah. You haven't done a show. You haven't done a show yet. Actually, I'll just share this one because and then we'll leave the gimpy stuff behind. But
Oh shit! Hang on, there we go. Back to that one there,
this
and
is
that one
this is the money shot from the polygonal masonry wall.
there. I love that money shot.
Isn't it?
It's a good one.
I could show you pictures of the Serapeum in Egypt and Pumapunku in South America. Now, yes, they're more accurate in both of those places, but you've got to remember that the wall in Gympie was moved. That's the story. Okay. That's the story. Oh, definitely, Tato. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know whether Pat's listening, but he's another brother of mine, and he always pulls me up on my stuff. I have him around just for that. He's like, you're bullshitting, mate. But this photo, right? My Instagram. Look, none of us are good at social media, are we, Anthony? But
No, horrible.
yeah, I'm not real good at it. But I posted this on Instagram a few years ago, and it's like the only post that I've had that's got it's into the thousands of likes. And all I did was put pop quiz, where is this? And the comments lit up. Oh, it's in South America, it's in Egypt, it's in Italy, it's in Greece, it's in. And then I went, Gympie, Queensland, Australia. And everyone's like, what?
Freak out.
Because it is. And again, this is in the documentary as well, guys. I took Loomis to Gympie as well. So,
So where exactly is it? It's at the church there in Gympie somewhere, is it?
Surface Hill Church in Gympie. Yep.
Yep.
You could drive there tomorrow if you wanted to. Yeah.
I plan to
Surface
next
Hill.
weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. I stopped sharing. You can bring us back,
Oh,
mate.
hang on. There we go. Whoop, we're back now.
Yep, there we go. We're back. Yeah, that's Surface Hill Church in Gympie. Long
Mm,
story short, it was a Depression era project um, that was moved from one to the other, moved from somewhere to build the wall of the church. Where it
yeah.
came from and where it went is two entirely different. There's a number of different stories there. Um, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'd
like
love to challenge anyone to go and try and replicate that shape of rock with a
yeah,
natural rock, mind you,
mhm.
and make it perfectly like to, shape into anything that needs to go and sit on.
Even if it's as close as they are, right? Even if
Yeah.
it just get it as
Without it
close as they
breaking,
are.
mind you, without it
Yeah,
breaking.
without it breaking. Yeah, and make it turn a corner. And you
Mm.
got to remember too that at Surface Hill, and I've been there half a dozen times, right? Um,
That is the biggest question, Jane. That's
that
why the doco's
I was going to
the
say the
doco's
documentary. You come back to the documentary "Sacred Site." That is the very reason for the documentary. That's what we're trying to answer the question. We don't know.
and we're
Um,
throwing all these hard questions of trying to make reality, open everyone's mind to the reality of
mm,
what shit's going on.
yeah. Well, I mean, those. So that wall at Service Hill, Anthony, those bricks. Oh, sorry, those stones are about, I don't know, 30 centimeters wide,
They're a good
and
size.
every single one of those stones goes all the way through.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just that corner piece. That corner piece goes all the way through.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just, and that little square bit that,
Yeah. It's
that
at
joins it
least a good
together.
half a meter
Yeah.
in
That's a
depth,
good,
basically.
good 30, 40 centimeters deep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're not just making the shape on the outside, that shape carries through the wall.
Mm.
Um, and, what is the reason for polygonal masonry? Uh, it's basically earthquake proof. That's
Yeah.
it takes a lot more to do, but it's basically earthquake proof. It
Very
withstands the
structurally
test of
stable,
it withstands the test of time is basically what it does.
which is
Um,
proven over in the other countries.
oh yeah, Pumapunku, South America, Egypt, but some
Mm.
of the little known stuff is that they've also now found polygonal. There was a megalith hunter on Instagram, Laura. She sort of dropped off. I don't know what happened to Laura. I hope she's well. She was very
Government
nice.
got
She
her.
Yeah, we got her. Yeah, she got deleted. Um, but no, she was doing some work. She lived in Malta, and she was doing some work with Malta and the cart ruts and all that sort of stuff. But because again, and this is what Loomis said to me as well. It's like, look, if you got a little bit of coin behind you, once you get into Europe, it's pretty easy to get around, and it's
Yeah.
pretty cheap to get around. But it's being in Australia, you've got to get there first, sort of thing. Um, and she hop, skipped, and a jump, and there's and look, we've all seen these, right? The Roman aqueducts, right? The Roman,
Yeah.
they stand up and they run.
Mm.
They're still
Yep.
standing today. At the base of a lot of these Roman aqueducts, man, is polygonal masonry, right? And
So they just
I
built on
went,
top of it.
yeah, and it's like, well, what came first, the masonry or the aqueduct? It's
Yeah.
like, did the Romans do that, or were they? The Romans are classic for building on something else. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
would take something and then use that to build on top of
Claim
something
it.
else. And so it's like, where did that polygonal masonry come from? And it's all through, like, and it's not all the aqueducts. It's like in different places. There's all this, and it looks very, very similar to what we see at Gympie,
Yeah.
polygonal masonry. And yeah, that's it. And also, so in Italy, in Greece, there's polygonal masonry found in Russia. Again, not in the quantities and to the perfection that we see in South America and Egypt, but it's there. Like
Yeah.
it's there's echoes, man. You know what I mean? We talk about these
Yeah.
echoes of this civilization, and it's like, I think it was Tardo that said, maybe time is not linear; it's all happening at once, and maybe that is true.
Yeah.
I know that
I've seen the signs
old,
before too.
old old Yoda McDermott, who joins us here at the show every now and again, said one night that, what if all things are true? It's just a matter of time, right? What if time is
Yeah.
the only difference?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of things they mention up in the doco too is like a lot of these places where they're getting these stones from is like what, like between 50 to 100 k's away or something like, and they're
Oh
still
yeah, it's
transporting these things
unbelievable.
to these
It's
locations.
unbelievable.
It's like, well, how the hell are they doing that?
Well, there's that. I can't remember the name of it. It's again. You have to watch the documentary, but there's a big stone in Hawaii that
Hmm.
Loomis went and visited,
Was on a
and the
totally different
story.
island.
Yeah, they said they floated it across the ocean. What? What do you mean you
I was like,
floated a
how
30
and
ton
why?
stone across the ocean?
And for what purpose?
Yeah. Um, I mean, even so, we talk about Australia's Stonehenge. They reckon some of the basalt that came from Australia's Stonehenge came from up to 200 k's away. They think.
Yeah, that's
How do you
crazy.
draw? How do you drag a 3 ton and multiple? Right? Don't. It's not just one. Um, what do you just take a 3 ton stone for a walk, man? You know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
How do you?
Throw your
And
shoulder, off you go.
yeah, I love it how it's matter of fact. I mean, the classic one is obviously Egypt because that's the well documented. And yeah, the Aswan quarry and some of the things that are found in the stone that's found in the pyramids, the three great pyramids, is the Aswan quarry, and it's 40 miles away. You know what I
Mm,
mean? It's like, and these are 10, 15, 20 ton stones. Um,
yeah.
you know, spoiler, I'll give you, we're getting pretty late. I'll give you a sneaky spoiler. Loomis does tell a story that in South America, one of the tribes, and again, you think about the Mayan, the Inca, the Aztec, a lot of them say that they found that stuff. They didn't make it, they found it. The gods did it, is what they say, right?
Mm.
Um, and they tried to drag a 5 ton stone. I think I'll mess the story up on purpose, so you have to watch the documentary to get it correct.
I like that.
uh, but they dragged a large stone up a hill, using primitive ropes, whatever, however long it was ago. The ropes broke and basically killed 500 people, right? Because this
Yeah.
stone just rolled down the hill, just mincing people as it went along. Um, Yet on the top of Machu Picchu, there's thousands of these stones. You know what I mean? It's like, how did you do that? How did Oh yeah, they just did it.
Yeah.
Like
How many
we
people got
don't.
killed in the process too?
Yeah. Well, this is well, I mean, and you want to bring it into the present. My great grandfather, one of my great grandfathers, worked on the Harbour Bridge, and they were killing so many people on the Harbour Bridge. They put a net underneath it to catch them. Right?
Yeah.
That's what they were doing, and that was in the 1920s or whatever it was. So yeah, you've got to ask a question. But again, you got to remember too that the deeper we dig in Egypt, and the more that we dig in South America, the better the precision gets. Right? This is the thing that
Mm.
everyone doesn't remember either. It's like the deeper we dig, the better it is. You would think that if that wasn't the case, that they would get, if evolution, like, we get better and better over time, as we're told, right? Remember the awesomeness scale. We're awesome, we're awesome, we're awesome. Here we are at the
Mm.
peak of our awesomeness. I don't think that's true at all, right? I think it's more of a up and down. We might have gone bang and then moved down here, and then we might have gone bang and down here, right? Because the deeper we look and the deeper we dig, the better quality it gets. Whereas it should be the other way around, shouldn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we are to believe what we are to believe. It's look, man. This is the reason we can talk about this stuff endlessly. You know. Matthew Riley. That's something from left field. I love Matthew Riley. I can't read his books if I need to go to sleep, though. That's my problem. Is it Jack West? Jack West. He's got the Seven Ancient Wonders. It goes down to I can't remember, but yeah, I can't read Matthew Riley. If I need to go to sleep, I can't read his books. They're excellent, though. Don't get me wrong, excellent books. Yeah, the thing about this is, man, is that what's fascinating about working with Loomis and the Sacred Site documentary is, again, all the stuff we've talked about tonight. Barely any of it's in the documentary. The documentary
Yeah.
actually has stuff that's Loomis is looking for stuff on the islands of Hawaii. I'm looking for echoes deer down under. Bosnian pyramid. See, I told you to come back to me.
Mm.
And that stone, you girls were right. Septarian is exactly right. Yep. See, it's all coming back to me now. I nearly just sung that. It's all coming back to me now. Septarian dragonstone is what it's called, and it's brown with quartz and yellow inclusions. Um, you know, it seems to be that the more we dig and the more we are open-minded and have understanding, the more we find. It's like, it's curious. Because it's getting a bit late now, and I'll save it for another time. We went back to the imprint and we found more stuff.
Mm.
We found a gateway at the imprint. I
Mm.
tell you what,
Interesting.
I'll tease you. I'll tease you because I'm gonna have to turn in soon, brother. I've got some stuff to do tomorrow, but I'll
Yeah,
tease
that's
you
all
with
good.
this. And look, anyone that's in Southeast Queensland, guys, I was actually thinking about organising a trip to the imprint to show people. So if anyone is keen to do that, reach out through Facebook or Instagram
So,
and
so
have a
where
chat.
exactly is this?
It's in Landsborough, Southeast Queensland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours from me.
Nice. Well, there goes a 10-hour trip for me then.
Yeah. Look, it'll be the next time you come down. We've got to meet somewhere, dude. We need to go
Yeah,
again.
we need to do
Maybe do.
another little meet and greet and camp away bloody thing. That was bloody awesome last time.
No, it was good fun, man. It was good fun.
Shit, yeah, it was.
So
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing a little bit of this. Yeah, I
yeah,
did.
this is drone footage. No, you haven't seen this yet. This is drone footage. Oh no, no, in the chat you might have seen it. Sorry. Anthony's behind the scenes, guys. We've got to keep something to ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, that's right. We are the
One
government.
is yes. Where number one is where the imprint is. Okay. Number two is the discovery that is in the documentary. You'll have to watch the documentary to see what it is. And three is the new discovery. Yeah. And yeah, I think there's more there. Um, and it's this stuff you talk about synchronicities. Um, the last time we went to, I never have a Monday free, right? And I had a Monday free. So did Mr. Tomlinson, who that's his sweaty back that you can see there. And just by chance, the water had been through enough that it actually cleaned off all this plateau, and we saw more. Daniel and Brian, if you guys are still watching, I'll take you there. And anyone else who's in Southeast Queensland, I was thinking about maybe at some point this year doing a bit of a UTC field trip if anyone's interested. So reach out. If we can get some numbers together, we'll all meet up there, and I'll show you, and we can see what we can see. Because yeah, this
Added
is
bonus if you've got some electrical equipment that you can bring out.
Yeah, well, we talked about. I didn't get to lidar before. Yeah, I don't want to share that too much, man. Get rid of that for me because that's secret school business.
Oh, no.
Well, I was gonna share it tonight, but we didn't go down that road. So,
That's all right.
And yeah, it's the lidar thing. So basically, one of the latest DJI drones has the ability to get a lidar attachment. So they're no longer 20 grand, but they're about 6 grand. So that's not 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Depends on
not
how
20.
good its penetration is, though.
Well, lidar, we just wanted to make the canopy disappear. That's all we need.
Yeah.
We just needed
Oh,
to
yeah.
look. We just needed to look through the canopy, which is half our problem in Australia.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to penetrate much past the canopy. And, so I mean, if you think about the height that we had, that photo that I just had you, that's my drone that I took that photo with. If we could put LiDAR, if we could remove the canopy from there, perfect, man. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, shit,
they're not as expensive as they used to be. And obviously every week the technology is getting better. So, he's hoping that, through the documentary and through some of the other stuff we're doing, we can get some coin together and get a lidar drone. And if we get a lidar drone in Australia, man, it is gonna. I can't even tell you what we're going to find because I don't know, but it excites me.
I'm surprised a lot more people aren't really doing this in Australia, to tell you the truth. Like, there's so much undiscovered land in Australia that has so many unexplored mysteries behind it.
Look, we're that's another conversation for another day. I think the
Absolutely.
attitude of Australians and all
Yeah,
that
we're
sort of
pretty
stuff.
lazy.
Look, the convict mentality is real, man. It
Mm.
is. Govern me harder, daddy. Is like it's the convict mentality is real, and
Yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Govern me harder, daddy, but fuck you, government.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just I think Aussies just want their beer and sports, and like
Yeah,
I don't know, man. It's yeah. Like I say, I think we're starting another conversation, and maybe we wrap it up for tonight. Thank you very much, Jane.
yeah,
Thank everybody in the chat. These ones are always fun. Please make sure you look at the documentary Sacred Site. Tomorrow I'll post it up on all the pages and all that sort of stuff. We'll do it on Encounters Down Under and all that sort of stuff as well tomorrow. Give it a like, give it a follow, share it around. Make sure give Loomis a comment. He's put some real work into it, and we weren't. It used to be behind a paywall, but instead of that, we decided to let the awesome people have it. It definitely does, brother, and that's what we're doing here at UTC, Mister Mengel. You know that. Um, yeah, please give him a like and a follow. Please comment. His podcast is Chant It Down. He has excellent episodes. As I said, I think the number of collaborations I've done with him is 8 or 9 now. Please give those a download and a listen. Unlocking the Code, Encounters Down Under. What are we doing? Is that it, bro? I don't know. We
that's
have
it.
anything else?
Nice. Make sure you give our podcast a like and a listen and all that sort of stuff. Share it to your friends and families. The
Mm.
more people who sort of know about the stuff that we're talking about, the better it is, eh? Pretty
Yeah,
much.
absolutely, man. I had a good chat with Loomis yesterday when we were discussing whether or not just to release the theatrical version onto YouTube. And it's like, I know you put in quality work, man. Your podcast is a quality podcast. I like to think Unlocking the Code is a pretty good podcast. Chant It Down is an excellent podcast. Have always remember, guys, that it's just us. We're not. We're all fathers. We're all husbands. This is just passion projects that we do when we
Yeah.
can, and we really appreciate everyone giving us a listen, a like, and a follow. And it is truly passion for us. It's not.
Yeah. We're not
We
getting
do it.
paid for it. It's just
Yeah.
all out of our free time. Pretty well.
We do it because we love it. So and we love you guys, and thanks for listening tonight.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of it is like, all the listeners here and support that we get from you guys. It makes it more worthwhile for us to go and get into this and dive in deeper and try and
Mm.
figure some whatever shit's going on.
Yeah,
know?
look, no one knows, man, and I love doing these lives with you, dude. I love the interaction we get from the audience and the questions, and I really appreciate all that. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
Until next time,
Fantastic.
man.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in again. And till the next time, and hopefully pull our fingers out a bit more and get a few more of these going. And I'll definitely try and pull my finger out.
We keep talking about. I want to have Anthony on Unlocking the Code away from all this. I want to have Anthony on just me and him. So we'll make that happen in the near future because I think that'll be
Have
fun.
a good old private little sesh. Hey.
Yeah. Just you and me, man. Just you and me.
Look forward to it, man. Look forward to it. All right, guys. All the best, eh? Until next time, eh? Catch
Thank
you
you,
later.
guys. Cheers.
Yeah.